Hello and welcome back to the Mimic Commentary. This is episode 21, and perhaps it might be the last or second to last episode of Stormhill. We'll see how far we get and how fast we move. In the last episode, we kind of looked at spirits. Hopefully this fall doesn't kill me. We looked at some spirits, invading spirits, red phantoms, how they might be connected to the Crucible. We explored the Colosseum, and we noticed more differences between beast and tree, as well as what it means to be able to have this primordial vestige of the Crucible, and if that allows someone to send their phantom out to cause harm to others. We invaded someone else on our own. We were kind of invaded by the Bell-Bearing Hunter, and we were also invaded by a recusant who had a heraldry on their chest that showed an eye with ears. We also picked up the Beast Crest Heater Shield, and while I was talking about how it's serving to remind warriors not to succumb to the arousal of battle, fight with passion, but become not its prisoner, I don't think I really focused on how this is supposed to be a representation of Sirach, and how Sirach is supposed to be representing fighting with passion but not becoming its prisoner. But we did kind of look into how war is a very that is a human concept when it comes to killing and fighting, where animals do not animals don't go to war. You know, that's a human thing. So this arousal of battle, is it something entirely human? The evils and barbarity of man is something unique only to us within the animal kingdom. Thinking how Sirach must be a aged counselor of the golden lineage, we could probably see why the Horaloo, as the chieftain of the Badlands, who we've kind of deduced is Godfrey under a new name after he becomes tarnished, that he in some way must be having this arousal of battle, and he needed a lion, this beast regent Sirach, to keep that barbarity in check. We're killing these things because we're looking for a drop, by the way. We were in a camp, one of Godric's camps, and we picked up the Exalted Flesh item. So we're kind of seeing that connection between the Badlands, the chieftains of the Badlands, the axe as a weapon, and that connection to Godric, Godfrey, and all that. And here, we're coming up on a fan favorite. Let's see what he has to say.
Hello? Can you hear me? Help me. I'm stuck. Hello? Hello? Anyone?
All right. Let's get rid of these guys. These are good for crafting against poison.
Oh, my stars. I'm so happy to see you. I am Alexander, also known as the Iron Fist. And as you can see, I'm stuck here. Please, can you help me out of this?
Okay, before we say anything, it's just so we can shut up. He's a jar. He's Alexander, also known as the Iron Fist. Is that a title he gave himself, or someone else gave it to him? I'm going to assume this is a title he gave himself. You know, even though we're from outside the Lands Between, and we don't know many of the heroes that could be frequenting, I don't know if this guy is one of those heroes. On the top, we have a seal of a tree. We've seen these seals at the Minor Erd Tree, where the jars were shattered. Assumedly, there is flesh inside of this jar, and somehow he's come to life. What else does he say? Yeah, okay. And he's stuck here. How did he get stuck here? It looks like he fell. I'm going to say he probably fell into this hole. The hole wasn't here until he plopped down. Maybe he jumped up from too high. but we're going to help him out.
My thanks. 1,000 thanks. Just give me a good smack from the rear with something nice and big. And I'll pop clean out, I'm sure. Don't dally. There's no need to fret. I'm very well trained. Give it your all, I say.
All right. Let's find out.
Come on. Give me a good smack from behind with something nice and big. I'll pop clean out. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, this dinky little claymore isn't going to be enough. We got to use the Zweihander. There we go. Let's, excellent. I'm not gonna keep using the Zweihander though. You know what? Let's do something. What's a dagger like? Nah, that's crazy. Yeah, we're gonna use this for a second.
Well played, good sir. Well played. Though that mighty wallop of yours almost spelled the end of me.
Yeah, we invest heavily in dex and strength.
Well, I'm out now, and that's what counts. I thank you. And as a token of my appreciation, I'd like you to have this.
More of that flesh from the Badlands. I'm assuming, it's an assumption, I think he took this out of himself. We don't know much about the jars yet. However, since they were found around that minor Erd tree, and the Erd tree roots use flesh and bodies to, consume and to invigorate it. We have the arteria leaves that that pulse with a faint bit of blood. I'm going to assume this is his flesh from inside of him. Maybe this is what makes him a great warrior. He's very confident in his stance. I love his little feet. He only... You know what's interesting? I hadn't noticed this before. He has 3 toes, but only 4 fingers. Only 4 fingers. We'll have to remember that.
Once again, pleasure is mine. I am the warrior jar known as Alexander. Iron Fist Alexander. I journey to the east, where I intend to further my education in the ways of war. And beyond these lands lie the scarlet, rot-blighted Caelid wilds. And upon their southern edge is Redmane Castle, in which a festival of combat is being held. I'd heard whispers of such festivities before. Doesn't the notion set your breast aflutter?
All right, let's break that down. He is a warrior jar. So those jars that we found around the minor Erd tree, those could be other warrior jars. Perhaps the jars themselves come to life with warriors living inside of them. Or maybe the jars are turned into warriors. Who are these warriors used in battle, or are they what's stored within the jar? Whatever it may be, perhaps we'll learn later. Maybe they walk themselves to the minor Erd tree. That would be pretty. That'd be pretty a useful piece of logistics. He's known as Alexander, Iron Fist Alexander, in fact, giving himself a title. Perhaps someone else gave him a title for all of his greatness and whatever accomplishments he's may have had. However, I don't think that is the case. He is an obvious reference to Sigmire and Sigvard of Katarina from Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 3. Kind of like the bumbling noble warrior that your character comes up across throughout the game, who is supposed to represent this kind of good-natured, good-hearted, but a little, I wouldn't say naive, but, maybe not as strong as they appear to be. They're very valiant, but they might not have that expertise. He's journeying east, where he intends to further his education in the ways of war. And east is this way. If we look at our I think it is... Maybe it's key items? Limgrave East. Other than the Mistwood, which envelops the south, it is known as the lands which lead to Caelid, a path trod by many a soldier in the past. So he's going to east to education on the ways of war. All right. This is a warlike region, apparently, over here. Beyond these lands lay the scarlet, rot-blighted Caelid wilds. We're already getting some information about Caelid. It's a warlike region, but it has blight and scarlet rot. Those do not sound very friendly. I don't think I need to tell you what rot and blight means. Upon the southern edge is Redmane Castle. Now, we've learned about the Redmanes. Unfortunately, I think because I changed the Ash of War on the Claymore, I won't be able to read it. But the Lion's Claw technique is the skill of the Redmanes. And if we look at our key items, I believe, and our Armorer's Cookbook, Armorer who served the great General Radon contains knowledge for dealing with rot and has fire. So, the Redmanes, fire, and General Radon in the rot-blighted Caelid Wilds. There's going to be a festival of combat. I would think a coliseum, but he says it's at a castle, so that sounds pretty awesome. He's heard whispers of such festivities before, so perhaps these festivities have happened before, or maybe they haven't happened before, and it's rumor that it keeps coming up. But when he says, "I've heard whispers of such festivities before," it makes it sound like this is something that's maybe perhaps this festival of combat has happened before. And doesn't that notion set your breast aflutter? And then he gives a big ha-ha-ha, a big guffaw. So it sets my breast aflutter. But I know for a fact we are not strong enough to go towards Caelid. We will venture forth in that direction, but we will not take Caelid by the horns just yet.
I'm heading eastward to Redmane Castle on the southern edge of the scarlet, rot-blighted Caelid Wilds. I've heard there's to be a festival held there.
All right. There may be... Maybe I'll check that out. Maybe we'll check that out. Okay, cool. I think that's all he has to say. Yeah. Okay. Last episode, we touched upon a statue. One of the catacomb statues, and we can kind of see its wisp going across the way. We have a site of grace down yonder by that bridge, and some dungeons and enemies that way, but first we're going to come up this way. Let me craft some of these. We're going to need them. Oh, we have a lot of stuff to explore up here. But first, this catacomb. What did the message say? The Elden Ring is over here. Guys, we found the Elden Ring. Okay, we have a ghost. What does he look like? Floppy hat, horn, maybe a nobleman. Unthinkable. Our hallowed resting place is violated. To refuse the Erd Tree's call, to live within death. Sickening. Okay. We learned that a true death is returning to the Erd Tree's roots. However, this hallowed resting place, where there will be Erd Tree roots, has been violated. Because there are those who want to live within death, in the Deathtouched catacombs. Being death-touched because there's those who live in death here. This one has parry. We're gonna keep using the Eclipse Eater shield. So I think we learned that, and you know what? Let's make this a sacred short sword. I think we learned that those who live in death, they're vengeful spirits. They are outside. If I check this, just to double check. The Golden Order has no mercy for those who trespass beyond life's bounds. So the Golden Order is connected to Erd Tree Burial and the Erd Tree. I think we've talked quite a bit enough about what might be going on with Erd Tree Burial. When we get more information, we'll talk about it more in the future instead of just reiterating. But here, there's those who live in death here again, and these roots kind of have eyes. I want to bring this up. I think this is really important. Oh, we can't say when my scope goes out, or there's eyes in these tree roots. They look like roots, but they're kind of amphibious. I think we can tell they're roots. They can either they can see or not. It's an implication. I think it's an implication that the trees can see. Whether or not these eyes specifically can, somebody can. Somebody is looking at us. And where these eyes are found, so are those who live in death. Fortunately, we have our sacred sword, and they will not get back up. But it's interesting, it had a smoldering butterfly. Even a +0 sword like this with a sacred infusion makes it pretty tough. These roots are all over the place. Look at them. There's eyes everywhere. It's certainly implying that we're being watched, or someone is being watched. That somehow through the trees, sight is gained. I wanna bring it back to A Song of Ice and Fire, and spoilers obviously for that, of course. There is. We could talk about the character Bran, but I want to talk about Bloodraven, Brynden Rivers. He was a bastard Targaryen who was a spy master. He had one red eye and a blotch that kind of looked like a raven, like a birthmark that looked like a raven on his body, kind of by his face. Thus, he was given the nickname Bloodraven. There was a riddle. It was, how many eyes does Bloodraven have? 1,000 eyes and one, being the 1,000 eyes that spy for him, and the one red eye on his face. Eventually, he gets kind of, I don't know what the circumstances are, I don't know if it's explained exactly, but Brynden Rivers, Bloodraven, gets embedded into the roots of a weirwood tree. And he begins to be able to see through the tree roots and see as a tree does. And he does essentially get 1,000 eyes in one. He gets 1,000 eyes through the trees in one red eye, his one good red eye. The other eye has a root going through it in the current time of our story. So when I see these eyes in these roots, even though they're amphibious some way, they kind of look like seaweed or something of that nature, it makes me think of Brynden Rivers, the Targaryen bastard who was embedded into the tree roots. Just a thought. We got picked up a Grey Violet, the hue of Ghost Flame, useful for calling forth spirits. Their spirits are very important, as we've learned through many episodes. The body and the soul are two separate things, and we see that these souls are inhabiting these dead bodies. That's why they're those who live in death. And we also got an Uchigatana, which is I think a fan favorite, not just in Elden Ring, but just in all of Souls games in general. Maybe we'll use this weapon after. Yeah, we'll use the Uchigatana. A katana with a long, single-edged curved blade, a unique weapon wielded by a samurai from the Land of Reeds. Since we picked this up on a body, I think we can assume this guy may have been a samurai from the Land of Reeds. The blade, with its undulating design, boasts extraordinary sharpness, and its slash attacks cause blood loss. Yura, the Bloody Finger Hunter, he was addressed as a samurai, and he also had a katana of some sort, not the Uchigatana, but a different one. We won't know which one it is exactly until we get it. So I wonder if there is a connection, if we'll see a connection between perhaps, the things that we find in these catacombs, this catacomb specifically, and the Land of Reeds. Yeah. Oh, that one's not even connected to anything. It should be coming out of the walls, and that one's, you can see it's kind of like, not really connected to anything. Anyone in the stone coffin? I find it yeah, there is. I find it interesting that they do have the stone coffins within. Oh, and a blood rose. Oh, okay. So, ooh, very interesting. One of the Lord of Blood's followers was here. An Uchi katana from the Land of Reeds and the Samurai, and a blood rose. Well, we already have a connection between Yura and the Bloody Fingers and the Land of Reeds. So now we're getting more of a connection between Land of Reeds, Samurai, and the Lord of Blood. Yura was a Bloody Finger hunter. He was against the Bloody Fingers. Nereus, who he fought, he had the dagger Reduvia, which doesn't really give me Land of Reeds vibe. This weapon probably isn't going to be good against who we're going to fight, but you know, let's do the Bloodhound's Fang. This one, you know, I didn't even use the Holy Water Pot. But we could put fire on here. So let's find out who is our boss. Oh, a Black Knife Assassin. Some of their health is already missing. They were sitting down. I think you could see their armor is kind of bloody, so it looks like they were hurt in some way. I want to look at more of their attacks. We've seen these in the introduction. We saw them on the Night of the Black Knives, when Godwin the Golden was first to perish. So this must be one of the assassins who killed Godwin the Golden. In this is a giant room too. This is one of those big rooms, not the small dinky catacombs. Not doing many attacks. I want them to jump around. One thing we'll notice. Let's see. I guess they won't do their really special attack, but they dash around. Isn't that wow? Yeah, they kind of float and they glide. And interesting enough, they do not have a face. See? No face. It's just armor. And no blood. It's black blood. Alright. Assassin's Crimson Dagger. An assassin's dagger. Misshapen and stained in crimson. It looked like the knife that they were holding in their hands. Critical hits restore HP. This charm is modeled after the darkly gleaming blades used in the Night of the Black Knives, those which gave the demigods their first taste of death, death capitalized. You know, we have those who live in death. Death capitalized. The Night of the Black Knives. So this was someone who was there, most likely, with the assassination of Godwin the Golden, the first of the demigods to perish. I think that's how it is. We're going to do a recap of the intro cutscene when we get to the Round Table Hold. But before we do, sorry, I'm just trying to search up the text for the. It's in the Night of the Black Knives, Godwin the Golden was the first to perish. But now we're learning that those which gave the demigods their first taste of death. So Godwin the Golden was a demigod, and he was the first to perish. And amongst the roots, amongst the Erd Tree roots, where people are buried, where there's this kind of blood-like root resin. What is in this chest? Now, recall, it's important to remember, chests denote ownership. And this has Erd Tree Erd Tree golden lineage symbology on it. We have the tree, we have the beast. Again, you know, the tree isn't colored, so we don't know Great Tree, Erd Tree. But what is inside? Oh, deathroot. Okay. All right, this is an exciting time. A source that gives rise to those who live in death. The beast clergyman found in the bestial sanctum in the distant east. We know Caelid's to the east, so past Caelid. collects and devours these roots. On the night of the dire plot, the stolen rune of death enabled the first death of a demigod. The first death of a demigod was Godwyn the Golden from the Black Knife Assassins on the Night of the Black Knives. Later, the rune of death spread across the lands between through the underground roots of the Great Tree, sprouting in the form of deathroot. And we found in a chest right here, deathroot was being planted. Deathroot was in this chest and brought to this Great Tree roots. So this Black Knife Assassin was either guarding the deathroot, planted the deathroot here, something on that occasion. This Black Knife Assassin, I think it's pretty clear, this Black Knife Assassin wanted deathroot to be in the roots, to give rise to those who live in death. They're essentially, the rune of death spread across the lands between through the underground roots of the Great Tree, sprouting in the form of deathroot. So within deathroot is a bit of the rune of death. Runes, obviously, very important. We're supposed to go get a great rune or something from the Shard Bearer, Godric the Golden. We have rune arcs from the Shattered Elden Ring that can equip our great rune. And we have we gain golden runes, which is the lingering trace of gold. So we have a piece of the Elden Ring, the rune of death. It's spreading through the Great Tree roots and sprouting as those who live in death. To think our hallowed sanctum could be violated, to choose not to return to the Erdtree roots. So let's go talk to that ghost again and see what they have to say about it. If we recall in the Fringe Folk's hero's grave, unthinkable, our hallowed resting place is violated. To refuse the Erdtree's call to return, to live within death, sickening. If we recall when we were at the Fringe Folk's hero's grave, we fought an ulcerated tree spirit. And I asked, what could cause a tree spirit to become ulcerated? An ulcer is typically in the stomach. It must have consumed something that would cause it issues. It's the spirit of the tree, and it's getting ulcers. Well, I would say, deathroot is not just... Oh, we got some demigods. It's not just, how do I put this? Deathroot is causing those who live in death. So it's the root of death. It's the source of death. Does that make sense? There's... Oh, we got a golem. It is the source of death, so it's the root of death. But it's called deathroot. It's also the death of the roots. So these Black Knife Assassins who murdered Godwyn the Golden, somehow creating deathroot, are trying to kill the roots. They're trying to jeopardize the Great Tree roots and the Erdtree. We also learn much about how, in times of old, faith and battle went hand in hand. I believe that is in Erdtree Great Bow. In times of old, when faith and battle went hand in hand, this weapon was created in tandem with the golden arrow, with the golden great arrow. So faith in the Erdtree. We also killed one of those golems. Who cares what he's doing? Why would someone want to take down the Erdtree? Well, perhaps they're part of a faction that doesn't like how people are killing for this tree. So if we spread this deathroot around so souls can't return to the Erdtree roots, then perhaps we can solve this warlike culture who gains power from the death of others. Maybe that's why. This is just speculation, but so far, based on why would you want to kill the Erdtree, why would you want to death to the roots, so kill the tree? Why would you want to do that? That's what I can think of. Lance Talisman. Talisman detecting a lance and a knight. Knights on horseback are deadly foes. They see all above from their lofty position, meeting little meaningful resistance as they charge ahead. Aha. Like us on Torrent. I wonder if that, I guess we can, if you want to talk about who can afford a horse, who would be a knight, these guys aren't knights. We will not face any meaningful resistance fighting these demi-humans. There's probably some class analysis to be had from looking at that. But yeah, this deathroot is wildly important to understanding what is going on in Elden Ring. Now we have some Godric soldiers and some crucified tarnished, a little more indication that these guys do not like us. Deathroot, its function, why someone would want to plant it, what's the goal of having it, what do people gain from it, is wildly important for understanding Elden Ring in its totality. And I hope as we travel through this series, I'll be able to impart that onto you. That if you knew, let's say this faction, these Black Knife assassins, who assassinated Godwyn the Golden, giving the demigods their first taste of death, right? Is that what it says? Enabled the first death of a demigod. If they knew that this would create deathroot, is it just to kill Godwyn the Golden, or is it to create deathroot? What would those who live in death, what does that mean for the rest of the world? What happens with the Erd Tree? If we look at our talismans, if we look at the Blessed Dew talisman depicting a drop of the Erd Tree sap. Now we know that they try to collect crystallized tears, which is the sap, the minor Erd Trees. It's a blessed boon, gradually restores HP. It was once thought that the blessed sap of the Erd Tree would drip from its boughs forever, but that age of plenty swiftly came to a close, and with time, the Erd Tree became more of an object of faith. Why is it an object of faith? Well, because it's not actually giving us any benefit. We can only have faith in the Erd Tree, because the Erd Tree isn't doing anything for us. Why isn't it doing anything for us? Because those who live in death are refusing the Erd Tree's call. They will not be consumed by the roots, because Godwyn the Golden died on the night of the dire plot from the stolen rune of death. And the rune of death spread through the great tree roots in the form of deathroot. So we're seeing how this plot unfolds. We're seeing what a plot looks like. We're not just killing a demigod. We are creating deathroot, and we're killing the Erd Tree. We're stopping this blessed boon. And now we can kind of understand, why is the world the way that it is like that? Not only do we have zombies roaming around, vengeful spirits inside skeletal remains, and we have people part of the Golden Order, which has collapsed, hunting them. But we have the tree that was giving them life and power. If we look at our... I do have glowstones. How silly of me. I need those. What was I on about? If we look at our warming stone, unfortunately, which is made from a rune fragment, which has light. A rune fragment has they glow with a faint light inside. After an incantation is put on them, the faint light allows them to heal. It is said the Erd Tree was once as warm as the gentle sun and would gradually heal. It was once, so it doesn't anymore. We're seeing how the collapse of the world happened. Why is the place the way it is this now? Well, because of this Knight of the Black Knives and this deathroot. There is this giant, there is this ripple effect. A butterfly effect, if you will. A butterfly flapped its wings and a typhoon happened in Texas. A butterfly flapped its wings in, in Brazil, and a typhoon happens in Texas. We're seeing that there. And when we first died, so far we have 2 sets of butterflies, but at the very beginning of the game, we beat the Graphic Scion, and it was a nascent butterfly that led us to our death. So it's all very interesting. We'll talk about it more. This is the Saintsbridge. I'm a bridge for saints. This guy's beating me up. These guys look like they got killed from him. Can he break this open? No, he doesn't have to break this open. Oh, the smithing stone was inside of this guy. Is this implying that the statues that we're seeing are saints? I wonder if we'll find anything of Saint Trina around here. Oh, the moon's really bright tonight. Just kidding, it's gone. I'm going to farm this guy for a moment to get his helmet. And then we're going to jump down there and explore down below. So I'll be right back. And we're going to look for Trina lilies because perhaps Saint Trina, because so far that's the only saint that we know of. But maybe we'll call this guy a saint. Maybe we'll call him the Sword Saint. So I'll be right back. All right, that was fast. Just kidding. I don't have to be right back because the pumpkin head dropped, and this is what I wanted. An oval helm large enough to cover any head. Very heavy and hard. Reduces damage from headshots and impacts. The inside of the helm is pitch black, keeping the crazed warrior within it from panicking. Perhaps its rather roomy interior also helps alleviate the feelings of pressure and claustrophobia. We don't know where the pumpkin heads come from. Oh, I should use a lighter sword. I can't even wear this in a shield. Well, maybe we can look silly. No, not yet. They also drop the rune fragments which have the light in there, so it's funny that they put the light in these things. I thought they were going to talk about how they are, where they come from, but I guess not. Okay, well, we're not going to cross the bridge just yet. We're going to jump down the Spirit Spring. Because there's another place to go. This is, last episode I felt like I was a little low energy and we didn't get to talk about a lot of cool stuff. I mean, the stuff that we did get to talk about was pretty cool. About phantoms and what have you, but I think these few areas have a lot of stuff for us. Let me explore this region and see if I find anything interesting. If not, we will go to the cave. I'm hunting for Trina lilies. I want to know if Saint Trina is trying to tell us something. Oh, this is the catacomb where we fought the Colosseum guy. So we found one of the Colosseum, the Grave Warden duelist. We found where he was from. Here we go. Okay, and a turtle. I had to kill some octopus because I wanted to confirm if there was Trina lilies down here, and there are. So this is the Saintsbridge, and then we have the lilies of Saint Trina. Since these are here beneath this bridge with that guy on it, actually here's something interesting. This type of brick and those statues, I think when we talked about the Chapel of Anticipation in our first episode, that those statues were newer. We can kind of see that too with the bridge. The type of brick here is different than bricks that we see in other locations. They're not as stained. They're much brighter, just like these. So the bridges to those big towers, the architecture is different too. You can see this is actually the closest that we've ever been to any of them. This bridge and the statues at the Chapel of Anticipation here are much newer than probably the other statues. They're kind of the same color of the Radigan statues and the America statues. So we can kind of date when they're from. Yeah, see, we can see that this is like more modern type of brickwork, and it goes into these towers, which are... Oh, we can see that the statues are on there too, which most likely, they're either newer or older, but looking at the architecture, probably older. What else can we see in the distance? Oh, 2 more minor Erd trees. We can see Kaled. We heard from Deathroot. From our Deathroot, which I think is a key item. Bestial Sanctum in Distant East. That could be... acting like I don't know. That could be the Bestial Sanctum. I wonder if it is. Who could say, really? God, aren't I full of it? This water is so low, but you'll die jumping into it. That's so wild. And someone had a campfire here. Did they have any items? And I guess he... it's interesting. Is this guy dead, or is he just like... He is just immobile. Oh, turtleneck meat. This is the first time, because I never killed a turtle. Splendid, lengthy cut turtleneck meat, considered especially nutritious ingredient in the South. Why in is capitalized? Why is in capital? Why is the I and in the South? In the South of the lines between. Oh, the leaves of the Erd tree are falling, and we're getting increased rune gain. I was kind of thinking that, you know, when you get buried into the Erd tree, when we die, little Erd trees pop up. Little spectral trees. And when the leaves fall, you get... Oh, it ended. You get more... rune gain. Is that kind of like... maybe I'm repeating myself. I don't know if I talked about this before. Is that kind of like the Erd tree ensuring that its nutrition is going to give its runes back? Like, you know, get a little extra runes from everybody and then give it back to me. All right, here's a really cool cave. This is, I think, one of the most important levels in the entire game. We're going to need our lantern. The Highroad Cave. Now, is this the Highroad? Is this the Highroad? Or is the Highroad inside of the cave? And we see, built into the cave wall, some of those pillars, those structures. Now, I want to see if the tower... Mental note. Okay. All right. We made a mental note. Let's go see what the tower outside looks like. Does it have the same type of squiggles? Also kind of squiggly. Can't say for certain it's the same, but this is the same architecture that we see in the southern region of Limgrave and all the way around the Weeping Peninsula. We're getting a little bit more confirmation of kind of the artificiality of the lands between. That this place, look at this, this place is built on top of something much, much older. All of these rivers and water, this life, these castles, all of it is built on something much, much older. Who built it? Not just who built this. Who built this? Is this just naturally occurring? Or is it constructed in this way? Could something occur naturally around this if there was giant stone structures built up, and there was no, it's just like skyscrapers. I don't know. Could New York City, could we find a cave in the far distant future and New York City is inside of that cave? I don't think so. I think it has to be that the world is... Oh, geez. I knew he was there and I let him hit me. Am I going to die to wolves? No. I won't allow it. We can't confirm yet. We can only assume and have a theory. But come on. That guy was getting eaten by wolves. That's not a theory. That's a fact. It's looking like the lands between is artificial. Literally, it is artificial. This is a video game. And I am narrating a playthrough of a video game. It's like we're talking to each other, but we're not. You're just listening to me. Just like the lands between isn't real, it's made of code. Perhaps this is a microcosm of something else. That the whole world, this whole digital, fantastical world, is all fake. Even within its mythos, the world is fake. Still deep down below here, we get the dark moss that grows in the dark, but it's kind of luminescent. It's faintly luminescent, and it's used for medicinal purposes. Makes me think of our herba, which is also medicinal and gives off a faint light. Most likely tied to the Erd tree. looks like who was camped out here? Cade and sellswords, and they got killed by wolves. Yeah, they were camping out down here, and then the wolves came. I would say that these guys were probably here first, and then the wolves came into the cave. It's a little cute storytelling that the sellswords were camping out in here. And we can hear that there's flowing water. Oh, an arterial leaf held on a guy. The arterial leaves, remember, faint pulse can be felt in the veins. Thick and swollen veins stirs the blood. Can I get a headshot? No. Oh, goodness. Oh, there was also the giant man-eater bats in here. And it looks like the wolves and the bats did not get along. Everybody wants to eat the people here. Fire grease. Maybe they were part of Radahn's army because they have fire grease. I think we could say things like that. I think there's nothing else back here, but let's double check. But we hear the flowing water. Yeah. Now this is cool. This is awesome. And we have a stake of Marika. Was this brought down here? Is this old? You know, Marika, it's a different statue from the things we've seen up above. So I'm led to believe that this is much older. This is also the statue we kind of see in the intro cutscene. So I'm thinking this statue is older. Marika is known as Marika the Eternal. How old is this Queen of the Erd Tree? How old is she? We have flowing water. This is like a sanctum of some sort, I would say. Pillars, let's look around. Brazens, we have the man-eater bats eating men. Squiggly lines, perhaps similar to that tower on the outside. Land octopus. Flowing water. We've seen, and the south of Limgrave, this flowing water. Perhaps we'll find out that there might be a religion, maybe some religion, spiritual or cultural significance to a sanctum of flowing water. Also, I'm just going to shoot these guys with arrows. So I don't have to fight them. Yeah, this place was built... I think it's safe to say this place was built deliberately. Especially like this, in the world above. I wonder if the winged dames, the ones who sing, if they are involved in this in any way. You know, we're thinking like, are these bats... You know, these are man-eater bats, but were they always like... Do they come from bats, or do they come from men who turned into bats, where they used the... ancient vital energies of the primordial crucible to turn themselves into bats? I think it's quite possible. We'll have to see more what this crucible stuff is, but you know, this artificiality of the world, this mimicry of the world, it's hard to know, where does it stop, where does it begin? Is this a man or a beast? Is it both? Is there a difference? You know, with the Beast Crest Heater Shield saying that you don't want to lose yourself to... oh, don't kill me. You don't want to lose yourself to the lust of battle, or whatever it is, the allure, whatever they called it. You know, there is already a connection to beasts being better than men. All right, This guy's different from the other bodies. He's kind of looks like a, he's got a crown. He's kind of like a nobleman. I would say he's an explorer of some kind. And what does he have? A shamshir. Shamshir. Curved sword, thin blade with ample length. Light of weight despite its larger size. Slicing attacks come in rapid succession. Devastatingly powerful weapon in the hands of a skilled swordsman. Skilled swordsman. Let's look at it. I don't think we've seen any blades like this yet. Actually, I think this is our second curved sword. I think we could do dual wielding curved swords with the Gossamer. Oh, I like that. Maybe we'll do that. But this one, look how it like has these that it has similar markings. If we look at like this tower here, the Shamshir kind of has that as well. You can kind of see it where it has that spike. So, if we paint a little story here, this adventurer, maybe he came here with the Cadence Cell Swords, okay? Maybe this guy came here with the Cadence Cell Swords to explore this cave, and he wanted a treasure like this sword. This curved sword. We have a curved sword in our hand as well. Is there some cultural pass on? This curved sword that we have in our right hand might be pretty ancient. Could be ancient. This looks like the right way to go, but we want to go the wrong way. They also made stairs. That's pretty cool. We'll do that. Yeah, more cell swords. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking maybe this guy, this adventurer bought some cell swords. And uh-oh, there was land octopus in here. There was wolves and what have you. It might not be good since one of my weapons is not upgraded. Oh, I like the heavy attack on it. Yeah, more cell swords. Yeah, I think we have a story here. I think we could see the story here. Adventurer, a nobleman, maybe from the capital. He wants to learn the history of the world. Maybe he was sent off by somewhere, maybe the Academy of Raya Lucaria, maybe some researchers from the capital. Some people from modern time. They are looking to find history of the past. Oh, this guy was tarnished. And they hired some cell swords because he ain't that tough. And he picked up the sword, but he wasn't the right guy to wield it. Here we go. What's our enemy going to be? We have some more of these silver fireflies. Before we pick them up, let's look at them. It's hard to see. Fireflies give off silver light. Found near bodies of cold water untouched by sunlight. And I just, silver, untouched by sunlight. Let me look at my key items. This thing is a silver tier, and it's a thing of mimicry. Are those real fireflies, or are they creatures of mimicry? Let's find out what our enemy is. What is our final boss? Now, this is why, half of the reason why, this level is so good. Because here... Oh, I don't think I could summon any of our guys. Because I used all my magic. Now we know who built these guys. They didn't fall from the sky. They're part of these ruins that are built into the earth. These are old and ancient. Most likely repurposed from modern day. But let's see what he drops, so if you don't want to... And now we actually have his name. He's a guardian golem. He's a guardian. And he's a golem, so... He's a creation of some kind. He's a giant with fire in his stomach. And he's artificial. I think I need to do heavy attacks on him. Or that's going to happen. These guys aren't hard to fight. We know how to take care of them. But it's very interesting that he's here. All right, and what is our reward? How does this tie all together? The blue dancer's charm. Ooh. A cloth doll depicting a dancer garbed in blue. An ancient heirloom of some sort. Now, when we think of the color blue... Oh, unfortunately. Well, this is kind of blue. We have our FP, we have our mind, we have spirits. This is kind of purpley, kind of blue. Red is blood. Red is totally blood. Gray violet is the hue is ghost flame. It's kind of purple. It's purple. That's red and blue. Red, red and blue, red, black, kind of white, green, light, yellow. I'm just naming colors. Silver, yada yada. All the colors of the rainbow. A cloth doll depicting a dancer garbed in blue. The dancer in blue represents a fairy who in legend bestowed a flowing sword upon a blind swordsman. Blade in hand, the swordsman sealed away an ancient god. This is our first mention of a god. Other than maybe, I don't know if America's ever mentioned as a god yet. Sealed away an ancient god. A god that was rot itself. Whew, okay. This is intense. We have a lot to talk about. We'll have to talk about more about the dancer in blue, this shamshir, this culture, and flowing water in the next episode. I think this episode makes up for last one. I think we covered it. I think we're starting to put some things together. A flowing sword. A flowing sword like this. Flowing like that. This is kind of flowing. There's sanctum of water. Flowing water isn't stagnant. It's not decay. Yeah, we're gonna have a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about in the next episode. We will talk more about the Blue Dancer in the next episode. But this was exciting. This was fun. Hope you enjoyed this episode. You know the drill. Let's do the thing.